Welcome back to another episode of Who Should You Choose, the video series where I go over your questions and comments from the prior video and help you with your HUT lineup decisions. So weekend edition, I missed 2 episodes throughout the week, so I promised that I would do one on Saturday and Sunday. So for anyone listening, I do appreciate it. A lot of fantasy questions or kind of going over your polls and everything like that. Let's get into it. Would you recommend buying the Team Builder packs with either points or coins? I still have points left over from launch, so I could get 2 of them, which would put me up to 5 total. I wouldn't do it with points. If you still have your pre-order points, guys, what I would recommend is I would wait for the discounted either X Factors or power-up icons. I'd wait until they do like discounted packs like that again, and I'll let you know. I'll release a video being like, this is a very good value. I wouldn't do it with the team builders because you can only get 2. So if you've gotten all the free ones so far, you would have 5. You'd still need to buy more. So just not something that you want to spend your points on, in my opinion. 148, do you think players are eventually going to be able to recycle their unused fantasy collectibles? I made a few extra collectibles thinking I was going to be a way to recycle them into packs. So I immediately, after the new event dropped and saw that there was no way to do that, I don't really think it's acceptable for EA to not allow us to trade in collectibles for something. They're taking away the ability to retroactively go back and make master set players, and that is what it is. I think that's stupid as well, but nonetheless, not allowing us to trade in all of these extra collectibles we have, they're just going to sit in our collection. There's a lot of people that couldn't afford to make another 40, but they had like 8, and all that's just wasted. I think that's silly, very short-sighted, and the community hates that, as do I. I think it's very dumb. So hopefully, but I doubt it. Hey, Slaves, this is the best HUT content out there. I don't want to watch gameplay because I find it boring. I just like to nerd out listening to someone talk about the intricacies of the game. Thanks a lot. It's so funny because I fear apparently there's a lot more people like you, dude. 100% agree with the game going back to forcing you to do chores. Way too many moments and objectives that need to be done through squad battles. I just want to be able to play rivals and earn my rewards. Like I said, guys, it appears that they're doing all these moments and objectives, and it looks like it's because they kind of messed up the XP path or significantly undervalued it. And I would suspect that season 2's XP path is just like I said when the XP path first dropped. It's one of the most important days in HUT because it's gonna determine how many people just stop playing the game. Again, I'm lucky enough to get to play the game as much as I want for a job. And I'm having to do whatever is about to run out. So I can only imagine the guys that don't have 4 hours or 5 hours a day to play. You're not able to do wild card to get the rewards. You're not able to do the team of the week moments and objectives. You're not able to do the weekly team objectives or get your 30 wins to get your competitive pack. So I went about 10 days without playing rivals, and I didn't even do HUT champs last week. So it's just kind of gotten ridiculous, and I hope that if the XP path is juiced in Season 2, so take all of the stuff that they've thrown into moments. So like the team builder moments, where you got 32 moments and you get 2 free team builder cards. Just put the 2 team builder cards in the X Factor or the XP path. Give us enough to make 1 captain and 1 hologram item in the XP path as well. And we're flying here. It's not difficult, so. You mentioned briefly in the Panarin video to get a speed boost when skating. I think it was about holding L2 and the left stick. Can you explain in depth how to do this? I'm going to make an advanced tip video on this, and this is going to be one of the things. But one of the ways you want to use L2 correctly, there is definitely a more difficult mechanic glitch to give yourself a massive speed boost, but that's really, you're only seeing that at the top end of the game, and I'm not going to show you guys in any videos how to do that because hopefully it gets patched. But when you're coming into the zone, you're entering the zone, and someone's manually defending you, the way that you want to use L2 is open up your skates at the blue line and then use the left stick to go away from the direction of the defenseman. And what that'll do is keep your speed and allow you to open up your skates, and you will keep that agility, and you'll usually be able to get around the defenseman. You'll see me do it a lot in all of my gameplay. It's one of the better ways to do it. I do it pretty much anytime I want to get away from a player. I will skate away from the player as well as holding L2 for a little bit, and then I'll let go, and you'll get going a little bit faster. You don't get a speed boost. You just keep your speed, And usually you'll get the opponent to make a move because you're kind of slowing down or you're kind of opening up. Wow, just casually dropped something I knew nothing about. I'm always spamming switch player trying to select a defenseman when the opponent is breaking out, and I end up just moving players out of the way before I eventually get to who I want. I'll have to now try that holding down the trigger and pressing R3. Yeah, I released a YouTube short on that. If you're not following, get you go and check that out. I also post on TikTok and Instagram all of my reels or all of my YouTube shorts. So if you have those platforms as well, I usually post on Instagram and TikTok, and it's a much shorter tip videos. But yeah, one of the best things I do is hold down right trigger when I lose the puck, and I immediately click in the right stick, and that will select the closest player to your goaltender, which would be the furthest player back. And then I'll make a decision of who to switch to, once I lose the puck. And same thing when you're trapped in the zone and you're trying to defend a cross ice pass or something, you can click in the right stick, and you're going to get the player closest to your goaltender. The fantasy event is awesome, but I miss the days of real life success applicably impacting player overalls. If a player I like has 2 weeks worthy of team of the week and a 5 point game in a month, they still won't go above 85 until EA releases the next content cycle. This disincentivizes following the game more closely and watching your favorite players to have big games. Now, unless they have a fantasy card, it simply doesn't matter how well they play. They won't upgrade any further until EA allows it. Movembers and progression tied to RL achievements gave me a lot more enjoyment out of the real life NHL than anything this game provides. I don't see them ever going back too far down the road, but they need to find more ways to incentivize watching and following the NHL. Thank you for the content. Appreciate the work. The only way that you would get what you're talking about is if they go to like a live series system, which is what MLB does. So every 2 weeks, MLB redoes their rosters, and based on how they've performed, will upgrade or downgrade all of the base cards in the game. And that keeps base cards values very high because if a player pops off, he'll just keep going up and up and up and overall. And it ties to how they do in real life, which is fantastic. But I don't see them having the manpower to have players do that. They would have to go through 700 cards. And I just don't see them doing that ever. I wish, but you're exactly right. It's why the fantasy event's my favorite event all year. It promotes watching real hockey. One thing I'd like to change with a fantasy event would be to just release all 32 players for 2 weeks. Don't get me wrong, the event was great, but if you have all 32 available, then it gives the players the choice between the 32. I couldn't play a ton of week 1 in the event, but was able to make week 2 player of my choice because my resources were plentiful enough by then. Overall, they made it much more accessible though, so can't complain. The reason they do this is simply FOMO and makes you spend money or spend your resources in 2 separate weeks as opposed to being like, okay, like I'm going to make Pareko, Ekholm, everyone would have the same fantasy cards more than likely because for all the no money spent players, you had to shoot your shot. Like if you went and made Garland or Middlestat in week 1, you maybe couldn't make 2 in week 2. So if you would have been able to make all 32, you would have been able to just get all the best ones. And I agree, but you that was the whole shoot your shot kind of thing about the event. Hey, brother, what would you put more of an emphasis on, synergies or higher overall level? At the point where I can put a higher rated card in my lineup, but I like having synergies activated. Is the +1 or +2 to stats really worth it? Thanks for all that you do. Some of them. So, like, if I had I think it's 6 players to activate playmaking forward. Playmaking forward impacts agility, which is a very important stat. So if I had 5 players in my lineup that had it, I would try and finish it off. Two-way forward's another one because face-off rating matters a lot. And so those kinds of things. But no, for the most part, I don't really pay attention to it. It's also because we haven't gotten to the point where boost synergies, like where players have multiple synergies, where the boost synergies just aren't in the game yet, really, because there isn't enough good cards that offer the player boosts as well. So we'll have to wait and see. Like it looks like that's not happening until like 87 or 88 overall because Sanheim got it and he's an 88. But we'll have to wait and see. Torn over who to take as my last fantasy card. Ultimately chose Kopitar. Figured he would offer more lineup flexibility down the road. Was thinking Pareko all week, but decided that there will be plenty of D-men released, but realistically, only 3 roster spots for him. That's a great point. I struggled. If you were in my stream, I was able to make one more fantasy card. I got 40 collectibles on the final day. I think I had 12 minutes left in the event. And I panic chose Pareko. Again, in my video prior, or in the video this one that I'm recapping, there was like 8 player options that any of them would have been fine. They're very similar in rating and stats and projections, which I think just kind of goes to show that was a pretty decent event from that aspect. So Definitely one of the best fantasy events. I got 3 fantasy cards as a free-to-play player. Before, you'd be lucky to get one, 100%. Like in prior years, you would get enough resources to make half of one. And then you have to spend about 400K to make one. So absolutely love that. Problem with playing wildcard is it doesn't count for weekly competitive. I think wildcard's going through a identity crisis. I think that it's trying to appease offline players or casual players as well as competitive players. So what I mean by that is it is skill-based matchmaking, it appears. So the competitive players have to play it competitively. And then, for the offline players, it's just it doesn't offer the same results as squad battles because it doesn't offer all of the tracking. So like if you're trying to get objectives done, you can't do it in wildcard. It doesn't track in wildcard. So that it's got an identity crisis. And I when I saw it first proposed, that was the first thing I mentioned, is that like this is trying to appease everyone as opposed to really making one section of the player base happy. In my opinion, from what I've seen from wildcard, the only way we're going to fix it or make it, I think the only way to make it, first of all, the reward path, in my opinion, I think is good. I think that they've actually done a really good job in terms of the rewards you get from wildcard. It doesn't take long. It's quick games, but they're mindless games, right? What I would do is get rid of skill-based matchmaking and go to the Hut Champs matchmaking. So every time that you go in, if you get to 3, right? If you get to 3 wins, right? Or you match up with other people that have gotten 3 wins, right, in a row, or at a certain thing. The problem is that they don't allow any of those matchmaking settings simply because there's not enough of a player base. So it's tough. It sucks. The other thing I think they need to do in wildcard is just give us a ton of MSPs. All of the cards we want to try out before we buy, let us try those out. I don't know why they're so stingy with that. Like, it makes no sense. Everyone's team is the exact same. Hey, Slaves, the Four Nations of hockey should have an event that is a mini fantasy type event like the All-Star event last year. Imagine a Canada-themed Crosby that would go up in overall if they performed well in the Four Nations tournament. Not a question, more comment, just want your thoughts. Dude, more of these events. I mentioned the next gen event is one of my favorites because it allows the non-headshot player, or the guys that like Macklin this year, Mitchkov this year, they don't have headshots in the game. So the next gen event is master set art. They don't need the headshots. So that's huge because it's all the exciting rookies. But outside of that event, my second favorite event that isn't the fantasy event is the All-Star event because it takes place what happens in the All-Star event. I'm 100% with you. They're going to have some sort of international event, I'm sure, probably during Christmas, like Winter National. The World Junior event should operate. Like, I hate the fact that it's like Team Canada goes up, or whoever wins gold goes up by +2 or +3 or 90 overall, right? Don't do that. Make it so if a player scores a goal, they go up +1 overall, And like, it just would be so much more fun if it was like that, as opposed to what ends up happening where it's like whoever just wins gold. I would much rather have if they score a goal. Again, because I don't know about you guys, I'm checking every box score and I'm going through and finding like if anyone scored, because every matchup has 2 fantasy items in it, right? I pulled up an Islanders game last night watching to see when Palmieri scored. Like, I never would, and that's just so huge. Like, I think that's so important, and I would love it for the Four Nations face-off. Like, I 100% will be trying to get them to do that and trying to recommend that, but the same thing for the World Juniors. Thanks, man, for the great content. Any suggestion on how to win more board battles? I seem to be losing them way more than I win. What buttons are you hitting? Again, this is going to be my advanced tip video. One of the bigger, I don't want to say skill gaps, but there is a player base, section of the player base that doesn't utilize pinning against the boards because usually it wouldn't work. And it would just kind of get you out of position or give you a holding penalty. This year, you have to take advantage of all of the tools on defense. That's stick lifts, poke checks, hitting the correct way, so timing a hit well, not just trying to bump because it's so hard to get the puck back, as well as board play. The way that one-timers and D2D one-timers are is players will go down low, and then they will try and send it back to the point. If you can stop the cycle and pin them up against the boards, that's what's so annoying about moments in squad battles, guys, when you play on high difficulties, is when you get close to the boards, it wipes out your ability to do anything because you get pinned up along the board. So that's one thing I would start doing is to get better at holding down triangle at the right moment to pin people up against the board. So I was going back and forth last night on Pareko and Ekholm and chose Ekholm and ended up pulling an untradeable Linus Sandin. He just scored, or no, Repo scored, so that's kind of funny. I did the same thing, man. I think that Pareko and Ekholm, both great cards. It was just whoever. I like Pareko more in real life. I like the Blues a little bit more, so I went with Pareko. Just made Ekholm and Pareko. Figured there are more forwards than defensemen I want to use down the line. It's the exact same thing. As it stands right now, I mean, if you went Ekholm, it kind of sucks for people that went Ekholm simply because if you have Chara and you made Heiskanen first, now you've got Ekholm, who you spent a ton of your resources on. It's like Jay Bowmeister's better than Ekholm now and probably better than Heiskanen, but you don't want to put him in your line. Use your resources to make a card that's going to push one of those to the third pair, That's like the tough part of that. And I got lucky because I made Pareko, so on the other side, so J-Bo is definitely going in the lineup. It's gone from online grind to an offline grind. I know, man. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. First 2 weeks of the game, like during my subathon, I just grinded Rivals. And now, like I said, I went 10 days without playing Rivals because I didn't have time to. And I play 4 to 5 hours a day. Just simply insane. I appreciate that you keep it real and call it the W's when they come. This fantasy event was fantastic. Instead of exclusively focusing on the negative, thanks. Again, in the past, I don't know if this is me getting older or me becoming a dad and just perspective changes, but I'm having more fun streaming and making content when the game has been so frustrating from a content standpoint. Like, the reason why it's so frustrating for a lot of these creators is that content is so easily fixable. It's not like the game is broken and we have to wait for a patch. There are things that need to be patched, right? But the content team and the content could change things immediately, right? And there's just nothing, there's no discourse happening, and it just is what it is. So I think that's where a lot of frustration lies. And again, at the top end, a lot of the YouTubers and content creators are among the better players in the game. And DDD one-timers is a very unskilled move at the high end. So when they give up goals like that, or that's what it becomes at the high end, where it's just circle in the zone, wait, then a DDD's open. It's obviously they're getting a lot more frustrated. I personally, because I play Division 2, I'm not in the elite. I still match Division 1 guys, but the lower end. I find a lot of fun cycling the zone a ton and then scoring off a one-timer or defending the DDD one-timers. The amount of breakaways I get, it's so satisfying. Intercepting a cross-ice pass at the point because you read it, because you're playing good defense. And so part of me is enjoying that, but I also understand that at the high end, the game lacks a lot of skill gap at the high end, and that's frustrating for sure. Sleeves, I got Kopitar's fantasy card. I'm actually proud of myself. New dad and have very little time to play, so getting all the collectibles from objectives was a huge challenge. However, I was able to use my coins and set fodder to make them and was able to get his card last night. He's been my favorite non-wild player since he came into the league in 06. Oh my god, he came into the league in 06. Christ, I'm old. And taking your advice was just about choosing your favorite players made it so much sweeter to complete the collection. Now I just need the old man to keep finding the twine. Again, man, like after I got Fabian Zetterlund's card, I watched Shark Games regardless. No Macklin has been so devastating because the first game was so fun to watch with Macklin in the lineup, and he's skating, so hopefully he gets back in. I would guess next week maybe. But without him, Will Smith's been really overwhelmed until the last game. He finally scored 2 goals, and the Sharks now have to stop winning games, please. But watching the game and focusing on Zetterlund has been so much fun, man. It's been so much fun. Like that, the fantasy event is just so good. I wish they would do more events like the fantasy event, but it's not just goals. Like I said, give us a Matt Rempe card that goes up for every 5 penalty minutes he gets. Give us a Mitch Marner card that goes up for every assist, and like you could do it with any stat. Like it just would be so good, like a playmakers event. Just there's so much opportunity. And watching the game in these cards in this event is so well received because of that. And I really just hope that they, kind of expand upon it. So, hey, Sleeves, thanks for everything. I have a kind of dumb request, but I would love to see a walkthrough of your room you recorded. You've got a lot of cool stuff, I'm sure. A lot of us would be interested to know about. I mean, yeah, my room, it's a normal bedroom. My studio that I made, there isn't much that you can't see, though. My hat collection, maybe. There's my wife gave me like a Pinterest idea, so it was like a curtain rod, and then I've got shower curtain hooks that have like about 40 hats. I have a massive hat collection. And then, you know what? Can I move this? There we go. Yeah, so that's really all you're missing, right? Is the hat up there and then that. But I could definitely go in depth like that collection of games right down there. It's every NHL game up till NHL 19. I just haven't bought in the full cases yet. And then I've got some like knickknacks. Like that's my NHL 21 Community Team of the Year award, which is probably the coolest thing that EA has sent us. And then obviously my card collection, which isn't all that impressive. It's got some cool, but yeah, maybe I'll do something like that if I do a short one. So, anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys. Always commenting and really engaging in these videos. I've been doing Who Should You Choose for like 5 years now, and they always end up becoming really boring, where everyone just copy and paste their lineup. It's really fun to just have a discussion and kind of like a podcast type thing. But thank you for watching. If you want to watch this live, I stream every morning on the weekdays. I go live at about 9:30 at the latest, and I stream until about noon, and then I go live by 2 p.m. Eastern until 5:30 Monday through Friday. So thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you next time.